Welcome back, everyone. Thanks for joining. This video is going to be a bit different. Over the past 3 years, since starting my YouTube channel, I've made literally hundreds of videos, and they're on different subjects and topics and different things that we talk about. But one commonality between all of them, something that I've tried to maintain as a cornerstone of this channel, is transparency. And that's something that I still plan to maintain today. I want to have transparency and honesty with this channel. And of course, we have news that FTX has had a catastrophic failure. This has evolved from being a liquidity crisis to now becoming a complex web of fraud and deceit. And as someone who once accepted this company as an advertiser and sponsor on the channel, I feel like it's important for me to speak about the issue. I know the popular strategy for any time there's controversy is to simply walk away, step back away and let it blow over with time. Eventually they'll forget, eventually they'll move on. I can't do that. I don't want to do that. I feel like this is an important enough issue that I want to dedicate a full episode to it. And in this episode, we're going to be going over a full timeline of events of what happened, how all of this unraveled, and I'll be giving you a behind the scenes look of everything that was going on from the beginning to the end of this whole FTX saga. Now, I do want to mention, I make this video to give context and explanation. I'm not making it to absolve myself from any mistake or to make excuses. That's not what this video is about. Now, I think what would illustrate this most clearly is a timeline of events. And what I'm doing is using the Bitcoin price as a timeline. This is Bitcoin's price year to date. Now, as we go into this, I think it's important to give a little bit of background here. As a content creator that's ran a YouTube channel that has some level of success, getting offers for sponsorships isn't something that's entirely unique. This happens pretty frequently. I receive many sponsorship opportunities frequently from all different companies. In most cases, in fact, in almost every case, I reject those sponsorship opportunities. For example, earlier this year, in fact, right at the start of this year, I received an offer to be sponsored by Voyager. Voyager was a large unregulated cryptocurrency exchange. Now, that didn't take a lot of debate. Unregulated meant untrustworthy. There's no consumer protections. Unregulated meant no. I'm not going to accept them as a sponsorship. Only a couple months later, I continued to receive different offers from different companies, one of them being BlockFi. This was another company that I rejected their sponsorship opportunity because they were unregulated. There's no consumer protections there. See, again, I view this as a very simple equation. Unregulated is a no. Now, we fast forward only a couple of months and I'm contacted again, but this time by FTX US. My initial response to FTX at the time is no, because they're an unregulated crypto exchange and I don't feel comfortable sponsoring anything that's unregulated. But they tell me that they're launching a new product. This new product is a US regulated stock brokerage. It's a member of FINRA and SIPC. See, this is what really caught my interest. This wasn't a crypto exchange that was unregulated. This was a new company that was a US regulated stock brokerage with all the same protections of many stock brokerages we use, like Robinhood or Webull or M1 Finance. It was a member of FINRA and SIPC. Now, in terms of due diligence, remember that FTX is a private company, so I couldn't type in their ticker symbol into Qualtrim and look over their balance sheet and cash flows. But I did do a level of due diligence. I didn't just take their word for it. I actually looked up their business license for this brokerage. It was FTX Capital Markets LLC, a real company registered in the US. And then I cross-referenced that business, FTX Capital Markets, on the SIPC website. They are listed as a member of SIPC based out of New York. And I also looked up their filings to see if they're a member of FINRA. FTX Capital Markets LLC is a registered member of FINRA based out of New York City. Now, for those who aren't familiar with this, SIPC is a consumer protection agency. They're required for every brokerage that works out of the US. The Security Investor Protection Corporation, SIPC, protects customers if their brokerage firms fail. SIPC protects securities and cash in your brokerage account up to $500,000. The $500,000 in protection includes up to $250,000 in protection for cash in your account to buy securities. This is what SIPC insurance is. This is what they're a member of, a consumer protection agency guaranteeing both your assets on the stock brokerage and in your cash balance. And again, they're also registered with FINRA, which is dedicating to protecting investors and safeguarding market integrity in a manner that facilitates vibrant capital markets. They have a whole list of things that they look at for every brokerage, making sure that they are not misleading, making sure that they're tested, qualified, licensed, that they're truthful, suitable, and that investors receive all information about their investments. The only reason I accepted a sponsorship with FTX was because of these regulations, because of the consumer protections that came along with it. To me, this meant that even with catastrophic failure, there is no chance that anyone I refer could possibly lose a penny with this referral. They're not going to lose money even if FTX collapses. That was the only reason I accepted this offer. And in the contract, I made it very clear that I would not promote the unregulated aspects of this company. FTX US ended up accepting those terms, and I accepted the sponsorship of the regulated product. So we agreed to a 90-day contract, which started June 6th. And that line pointing to that part of the Bitcoin map is accurate. That's June 6th on the dot. You can see what happened soon after I started my contract. In fact, almost immediately after, the landscape started to quickly change. There's all of a sudden a lot of concerns regarding cryptocurrency in general and the exchanges that they operated on. July 6th, Voyager, a large cryptocurrency exchange, completely collapsed. If you think back, this was really the first big crypto exchange to collapse. And this was very, very unsettling. Now, after Voyager collapsed, again, I was becoming very nervous. This was very unsettling news. I had signed up for a contract to sponsor FTX US's brokerage, and then there's cryptocurrency exchanges collapsing soon afterwards. I looked back at my initial contract trying to find a way out of it, and unfortunately, because I did it myself and I'm not experienced writing sponsorship contracts, it's not something that I do frequently. I also don't work with any agency, or I don't have any representation. I didn't write any easy out. I had no way to get out of it. Now, at this time, I expressed this concern to family members, friends, and close members of my Discord that I didn't really feel comfortable representing FTX anymore, but I feel like I'm stuck right now. The advice almost unanimously was to simply finish the contract and be done with it. Finish the 90 days I originally agreed to, and no more after that. Now, after the Voyager collapse, Sam Bankman-Fried was painted as a savior at that time, the guy with all the big money to be able to help out all these smaller exchanges. There is articles on the Wall Street Journal saying this 30-year-old is spending $1 billion to save crypto. Look at all the extra money he has. It gave the impression that FTX was the responsible one in the room. They were the adult saving all these other exchanges. But I still felt very unsettled from that point going forward. I even have different comments from my Discord that I was talking to other members expressing my concerns. I said, yes, I'm not advertising, staking cash, crypto, or any other non-insured stuff. I try to make that clear. In another comment, I said that I think there's some brand risk to my channel if FTX goes belly up like the other exchanges. And although I think that that's unlikely, I'm trying to be very careful to make it clear that I'm only recommending the brokerage portion of it. Because again, the brokerage portion is the only portion of their platform that has real consumer protection. Now we fast forward from this point in time, only a month, and then we get Celsius collapsing. Another smaller crypto exchange goes down. The whole industry is in turmoil. And at this point in time, I'm just counting the days, waiting for the sponsorship to end, waiting so I can get past this and go back to business as usual. On September 6th, the sponsorship contract ends. Finally, at that point, the contract was fulfilled. It was over with. FTX still wanted to work with me in different terms on a different performance basis, but I did not entertain any further agreements with them. I was done. I was free. I feel like I had this stress that's been weighing over me off of my shoulders. I could put FTX in the back burners, move on with my channel, and not have anything to do with them anymore. In fact, at this point, I had nothing to do with FTX at all. I didn't have any contact with them, no more shoutouts in future videos, no more using their platform, no more affiliate links, nothing. It was completely over. After the FTX contract ended, there was months where there was no affiliation with them whatsoever, and no real news regarding FTX. In my mind, they were completely in the back burners, a part of history that was over and done with. I was instead moving on, building out my own products, sponsoring Qualtrim and other different products that I'm in control over and that I own. But then, of course, we have the worst case scenario happen just recently. November 10th, a little over 3 months after ending my contract and affiliation with FTX US, FTX goes insolvent. And we learned that Sam Bankman-Fried, the CEO of the company, was doing a complex web of fraud and misappropriation of customers' funds. Because the collapse and hold to fill is so big for FTX's international business, it pours over, dragging down the rest of the ship, which involves FTX US. It's dragged down as a result, and the entire company is now filing for bankruptcy. FTX has experienced catastrophic failure. So that brings us back to the full timeline. Now we have catastrophic failure with FTX. And there's a couple things that I want to make very, very clear. One, I would never recommend ever a product that I thought viewers had a fraction, a 1% chance, a 0.1% chance of losing money on, and that is where consumer protections are supposed to avoid that. Every single person that signed up for FTX US stock brokerage, the thing that I was promoting, should be 100% covered. This is what consumer protection is for. This is the exact situation and reason it even exists. Everyone who used FTX US stock brokerage should be covered. And this brings into question some other things. If SIPC does not do its job and it doesn't cover anyone in this situation, then what does it really mean? What is it even for? What does it even stand for? If users aren't protected, what is the purpose of all of these consumer protection programs and agencies? Every single user of FTX US should be covered under these programs. This is the reason they exist, for catastrophic failure. If these protections don't work, then I think they're essentially worthless. And that brings into question some other things that I've thought about since this event. I have my money on M1 Finance. This is a brokerage that I think is trustworthy. I've used it for a long period of time. I have a lot of money on it, but part of the reason that I'm invested using M1 Finance is because it's a US regulated broker that's a member of FINRA and SIPC. The same exact regulations that Robinhood has, Webull has, and FTX US has. They're all protected by the exact same agencies. If these agencies do not work to protect consumers in the case of FTX US, then why should we believe that it will work in the case of an M1 Finance failure, or Robinhood, or Webull, or Wealthfront, or any of the many other US regulated brokerages? The only reason that I went forward with FTX US again was because of the consumer protections and regulations regarding their brokerage account. And if it doesn't really work, if it doesn't really mean anything, if all of that is just a facade, then that will have an impact on what brokerages I choose to use. Now, the other thing I want to make very clear, and something else I think is important, is obviously I'm deeply regretful I ever took this sponsorship with FTX back in April. Everything is more clear in hindsight, but of course, looking back, this was clearly a mistake. It's potentially caused a headache with problems and with viewers that had their money on this platform. I've disappointed many viewers of mine, which I never want to do. It's caused potential reputational harm to my channel and brand. It's given ammo to smaller YouTubers to smear and slander my name, calling me a scammer. This has not been a good thing for me or the viewers. I've always tried to maintain trust and integrity with my audience and respect my audience and their time, and this has ran counter to that. So I obviously regret this, and I'm going to be making some changes going forward to avoid anything like this ever happening again. First of all, my previous policy was to only take sponsorships from products or services that had regulations and consumer protection. I've realized after this experience, that's not enough. My new policy is pretty simple. I'm not taking any sponsorships from any products or services where there's any chance whatsoever, even with consumer protections and regulations, that a customer can lose any money for any amount of time. It's simply not something I'm ever going to be doing again. Secondly, moving forward, I'm going to start a retirement account on Schwab. I plan on starting with a Roth IRA, and I'll continue to show all of my investments, including the one on the Schwab brokerage that I'm starting. But this is going to be a little bit of a change. So far, I only have all of my money on M1 Finance. And after this experience, I realized that it may not be a good idea to have all of my eggs in one basket. I still love M1 Finance. I trust what I can see, but they are a private company. I can't see M1 Finance's balance sheet. I can't see their loans, their obligations. I can't see what situation they're really in. So when I'm looking at a company like M1 Finance, again, it's a little bit from the outside. I have no inside look of what's really going on. Because of that, I want to start putting some money on a different brokerage. Now, I'm still going to continue on with the passive income account. I'm going to try to fund it as normal on schedule, and I'm still going to track the story fund on M1 Finance. So I'm not moving assets off of M1 Finance to Schwab. That's not what I'm doing. But I am starting a new account on Schwab that I'm going to be building up a retirement account on. And again, I'll show all of it with complete transparency with the spirit of this channel. So that's all I have right now. That is a detailed, behind the scenes, truthful look at what's happened over the past year. And if you have any more questions, if I was unclear about some part of this, just shoot me a message in the comments and I'll try to answer it in as much detail as possible. And I want you to know that I really do appreciate every viewer and follower of this channel. I consider you friends. So that's all for now. I'll see you in the next one.